Hello everyone, warm welcome to Regulatory Bodies YouTube channel by Testbook. My name is Madhav Sir. I welcome you all in a very important session. Before we start the discussion, may I have a reply in the comment section that I'm audible, visible, everything is fine, we are good to go, so that we can begin the discussion without any further delay. Quickly guys, just tell me if everything is good so that we can start the discussion. आज का जो सेशन है वो काफ़ी इंपॉर्टेंट होने वाला है क्योंकि आज के इस सेशन में जो हमारे पास क्वेश्चंस हैं और आई वुड से द न्यूज़ वी हैव दे आर रियली वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर डिफरेंट एग्जाम्स. सो इफ यू आर प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर आरबीआई ग्रेड बी और मे बी सेबी सिडबी and different other examination, this session is going to be very important for everyone. So before I start, just give me yes sir so that we can begin. Good evening everyone, good evening. I can see many students, they have joined. Audio video has been confirmed. ठीक है जी. तो आज का जो सेशन है we will be covering the news related to the financial segment. Mostly news are coming from banking sector today, and I have two news from SEBI as well, which will again help you to understand the basic concepts related to the financial market and how it is impacting the day-to-day scenarios. चलो जी, बिना किसी देरी के आज के सेशन की शुरुआत करते हैं. लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द फर्स्ट सेगमेंट ऑफ आवर सेशन. हमारे सेशन का एक सेगमेंट है, पहला सेगमेंट, जिसमें हम रिवाइज करते हैं वो सारे क्वेश्चंस या हम रिवाइज करते हैं वो सारी न्यूज which we have covered in the previous session. So it's a quick revision where I'll not take much time of yours, but this revision part is really very important. This will give you a quick brush up of all the units of all the topics which you have studied in the past. Here we go with the first question from the past day news with reference to the stages of RBI's regulatory body sandbox. You have to consider the following statement. I hope you know what is regulatory body sandbox. It was in news related to the fifth theme, that was a neutral theme. I hope you remember that. The test design and integration phase is finalized solely by RBI without engagement of the applicants. No sir, this is wrong. This is wrong. अगर आपको याद हो तो क्या किया जाता है सर? First the shortlisting is done, and after shortlisting test design is basically framed. Testing phase may last maximum for 5 months. That is true. The final outcome of the testing is confirmed by RBI as per expected parameters in the evaluation stage. That is true. The timings, or I would say the timelines of each stage are rigidly fixed. No, they are not rigidly fixed. एक approximate time frame दिया गया, but they are not rigidly fixed. They can be changed if required. They can be, or the changes can be done. Next is the application assessment stage examine technology aspects, innovation and security. That is absolutely correct. So answer is going to be none other than A option. 2, 3, 5 are the correct answers. ठीक है जी. Moving on to the next question. अच्छा. Give me a second. I think I made a mistake. है ना? Okay, I have included. I guess I have included the wrong question today. Give me 1 minute, guys. 1 second at the most. Got it. 1 minute तो दो. Got it, guys. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, I guess now I'm correct. This is the question from the previous session, है ना? Okay, with reference to the Payment Council of India and its 2025-27 leadership, consider the following statements. PCI was established in 2013 under the aegis of Internet and Mobile Association of India, and its headquarters is in Mumbai, Maharashtra. Absolutely correct. Next point is PCI is governed by Executive Council of 21 members. No, sir, it is governed by Executive Council of 16 members. So second statement is wrong. The UPI committee within the PCI is chaired by Rahul. That is correct. Google Pay head Kunal Rana is the co-chairperson. That is correct. Nothing wrong in that. Moving on to the next point. The International Remittance and Trade Committee is chaired by Nath Parmeshwaran with Partha Sena. That is correct. Bharat Bill Payment Operating Unit Committee is headed by Vishwas Patel. That is also correct. So the answer to this particular question is 1, 3, 4, 5. I would say that this is the toughest question which can be framed from this particular news. If you are able to answer it, that is absolutely correct. So according to me, answer is going to be first, second, third, as well as the fifth statement are correct. Here is the entire explanation. You can go through with the explanation as well. I've included the explanation part as well for you all, guys. Moving on to the next question. The next question is now related to SEBI update, which we had discussed in the previous session. So with reference to the SEBI's recent investor protection initiative, consider the following statements. India became the first major economy to fully implement T+1 settlement cycle in equity market, reducing the counterparty risk. That is absolutely correct. The margin pledge as well as repledge framework was introduced in the wake of past broker default cases such as Carvey stock broking case. That is also correct. क्या होता था कि if you are trying to receive a margin against your shares, what you were earlier doing, you were earlier parking your shares practically with the stockbrokers, and they were utilizing the benefits on these shares. In order to avoid this, now if you want a margin against the share, there's no need to park it down. It will be marked pledge in the demat account itself by the concerned depository. ASBA-like mechanism in secondary market aims to block investors' fund in the bank accounts until the account settlement, thereby preventing misuse. That is also correct. If you remember, in today's scenario, if you want to apply for a share, for example, you are applying for an IPO. In that particular case, if you're applying for an IPO of total value 25,000, this is the unit which is being offered. In that particular application, the moment you will apply for the IPO, this 25,000 rupees will be logged in your bank account, which means this amount is not debited. This amount is not debited from your account. This amount is still in your account only, but you cannot utilize it for day-to-day operations. You cannot utilize it for day-to-day tasks. So if that is the case, in that particular scenario, what will happen? Sir, in that particular scenario, the amount will be blocked, and we call it as application supported by blocked amount. So this is correct. SEBI was established as a statutory body in 1992, but it is functioning as a non-statutory body since 1988. That is absolutely correct. Under the pledge-repledge framework, client securities are not transferred to the broker. Fifth statement is wrong. So answer is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 are the correct answers. 1, 2, 3, 4 are the correct answers. Moving on to the next question, guys. The next question is related to IEPFA. It has opened 3 Niveshak Seva Kendra in Hyderabad, if you remember. So the primary funding source of IEPF includes unclaimed dividend. What is unclaimed dividend? So the dividend which has not been claimed by the concerned shareholder for 7 years, then after 7 years, it will be termed as unclaimed dividend. Second is matured deposits, matured debentures, and amount transferred by the company that remain unpaid for 5 or more years. Sir, it's the condition 5 or more years is correct. No, sir, condition of 5 or more years is wrong. As I've already mentioned, the condition is 7 years. Next point is, if we talk about the Niveshak Seva Kendra operational in Hyderabad, are meant to directly credit unpaid dividend into the investor's account once KYC updation is completed. Once KYC updation is completed, if you complete the KYC update, then that fund can be transferred back to your account. Yes, sir, that is true. IPFA collaborates not only with SEBI but also with the regulators like RBI, IDBI for Investor Protection Initiative. Yes, उसी के तहत तो recently public sector banks, they have also announced that they will be transferring the unclaimed deposit, or sorry, unclaimed, I'm sorry, it's not deposit, unclaimed dividend, unclaimed share, unclaimed debentures into IEPFA. As per the recent SEBI reforms, faster settlement cycles, T+1 and T+0 pilot complement this particular role. That is true. Hyderabad has been chosen for NSK because it is a hub for registrars, fintechs, IT-enabled services, and thereby it comes up with a regional financial infrastructure. That is true. So answer is going to be what statement? So 2, 3, 4, 5 are correct. So B statement is absolutely correct. Sindhe, Saloni, Niharika, you have given the correct answer. Going on to the next question. Let's see who all can give me the answer for the next question. This is the last question from the previous session. With reference to the goods and services tax in India, consider the following statement. GST was introduced through 101st Constitutional Amendment Act. That is true. And it came into effect on 1st of July 2017. Absolutely correct. 2017, absolutely correct. France was the first country to implement GST in 1954. That is correct. And right now, single indirect tax is charged by more than 160 countries all around the globe. The idea of GST in India was first mooted by Vijay Kelkar Task Force. That is true. GST Council established under Article 279 of the Constitution include Union Finance Minister, Union Minister of State for Finance, and the Finance Ministers of all states, as well as the Finance Ministers of 2 Union Territories which possess its own Vidhan Sabha. Next we have, under the proposed reforms, 90% items in 28% bucket will move to 18% and 99% and 12% bucket will move to 5%. That is true. So answer to this particular question is D option. All the statements are absolutely correct. Good guys. Good going. Those who have given the correct answer, brilliant. Those who have not given the correct answers, nothing to worry guys. You should attend my sessions on regular basis so that you can answer the questions in the next session as well. Here we go with the first question, or I would say the first news of the day. The first news is really very important. It seems pretty easy. The moment I'll open that news, you will feel it's very easy. It's a 2-liner question will be asked from this particular news, but that's not the case. From this particular news, which I'm going to discuss in few minutes, it has a great importance because many technical areas related questions can be framed from the same. So here we go with the first point. Government of India picks Goldman Sachs to advise stake sales in 4 public sector banks. The question is what it means. So first of all, if I just explain the first statement, it says that Government of India, being the majority owner of public sector banks, out of 12 public sector banks, Government of India has appointed Goldman, or I'll call it as GS, so has appointed GS to advise that how government can issue the stakes of these 4 public sector banks. Why government is planning to issue the shares of these government owned banks? Most of you must be thinking, Modi सरकार disinvestment हमारे government की asset को बेच रहे हैं. Being neutral, I'll not say that it is not disinvestment, but it is not only done because of disinvestment. This initiative is taken due to SEBI intervention as well. Now the question is, what is SEBI intervention? Why SEBI has asked the government to sell these shares? What is the entire news behind it? Let's try to understand. So Government of India has appointed GS as the sole transaction advisor, where government has decided to disinvest approximately 5% share in each Indian Overseas Bank, Central Bank of India, UCO Bank, as well as Punjab and Sindh Bank. If I talk about the current holding of the government in each of these banks which have been mentioned, government shareholding is close to 90%, or I would say it is even greater than 90% in some cases. But the question is, why government is coming up with disinvestment? And if government's aim is to achieve disinvestment, government aim is to sell its assets in order to earn returns in order to raise the funds, then why only 5%, not 10 or 20% or maybe 30%? So the answer to this particular question is this is not done only and only with the motive of disinvestment. This is not done only with an alone motive of disinvestment. It has many things related to it. So the first thing which is related to it is SEBI. So SEBI has announced recently that if a company is a public company, that means the company has received the title of public company, company has already registered itself on different stock exchanges. In that particular case, the public shareholding in that particular company should be at least 25%. Public shareholding means the share which is owned by multiple investors, especially the public, that should be greater than or equals to 25%. But the problem over here is, in case of public sector banks, the way I'm talking about or the example which I'm discussing right now, in this case, government shareholding is close to 90% or it is around 90%. So government has been asked by SEBI to meet the minimum public shareholding criteria of 25%. It has been asked by the privately owned companies as well. So it has been asked not only from the public sector owned companies, it has been asked from the privately owned companies as well. But in case of PSUs, that is public sector owned companies, the timeline, or I would say the deadline, has been extended. That is 1st of August 2026. मतलब 1 अगस्त 2026 तक पब्लिक सेक्टर कंपनीज जो है, गवर्नमेंट ओन्ड कंपनीज जो है, उनमें minimum public shareholding is need to be 25%. If you don't do that, then in that particular case there is another option. You invest in the company, purchase the shares which are circulated in the market, get the ownership of 100% and get it registered as a private limited company. That is also allowed. So government has decided to come up with minority stake sale, which will help them to achieve this particular threshold, which will help them to reach to the given threshold. Now the question is, so why SEBI has come up with this particular announcement? So the answer is, SEBI's framework requires that all the listed companies should maintain greater than or equal to 25% public float. That means public shareholding. Why? The answer is to improve liquidity. First point. Second is to make price discovery easier and for better governance. Better governance as in, bhai agar 25% shareholding public ke paas hai, so public is not only having the shareholding, public is also having the voting rights. So this will undoubtedly improve the governance of the company. This will undoubtedly improve the governance of the company, which you need to remember. दूसरा point यहाँ पे ये कहता है, central public sector enterprises or public sector banks, these are the center granted. So these are the centered owned companies which have been granted with an extension, and this extension is up to 1st of August 2026 to comply with the decisions which has been taken by SEBI. Instead of headline privatization of these public sector banks. So it has been very clear that government is not going for privatization right now. Government is not going for privatization right now. Government का कोई role, government का कोई context या कोई aim यहाँ privatization का नहीं है. This initiative is basically taken with a sole motive. And what is the sole motive? So the sole motive is to liquidate. It is basically to liquidate the shareholding so that the conditions which are set by SEBI that can be achieved. ठीक है, यहाँ पे बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट आने वाला है, प्लीज पे अटेंशन. ये जो अगला पैराग्राफ है, दिस इज रियली 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 वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. यू नीड टू स्टे विद मी फॉर नेक्स्ट 10 मिनट्स बिकॉज यू आर गोइंग टू लर्न मेनी न्यू कॉन्सेप्ट्स. पहला पॉइंट, सर ठीक है ना, गवर्नमेंट को शेयर्स बेचने हैं, बेच दो, इसमें इतना हल्ला करने वाली क्या बात है? देन द आंसर टू दिस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन इज, सर गवर्नमेंट is going to sell the shares of a public company, and for that particular purpose they need an advisor. They need an advisor and they have appointed GS as its advisor. So what advice GS is going to give? What all aspects GS is going to cover? So the first one is route selection and structuring. मतलब अगर गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की कंपनी है and government of India is deciding to sell the shares, then what will be the route? Route का मतलब क्या? ये shares directly पब्लिक को बेचे जाएंगे, and when the shares are directly sold to the public, we call it as what? So we call it as what? We call it as FPO, that is follow on public offering. है ना, we call it as follow on public offering, or we also call it as on the other side offer for sale, that is OFS. अब इन दोनों में डिफरेंस क्या है, ये पॉइंट समझना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. इस पॉइंट को 99% स्टूडेंट्स दे आर नॉट क्लियर विद दिस पर्टिकुलर कॉन्सेप्ट, और जब इस तरह का क्वेश्चन एग्जामिनेशन में पूछा जाता है देन यू सीम्स टू बी लॉस्ट कि ये क्या पूछ लिया. स्पेशली इन योर इंटरव्यूज दीज काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चंस आर वेरी कॉमन विच आर आस्क्ड इन द एग्जामिनेशन. तो सुना जरा ध्यान से. Guys, let's suppose there is a company A Limited. ठीक, this company's current capital is, let's say, 100 crores, and against the 100 crores the company has already issued 1 crore shares, which means the share price is 10 rupees. I'm talking about what, sir? I'm talking about the face value in this particular discussion. ठीक है, अब हुआ क्या कि कंपनी को क्या करना है, कंपनी को फंड्स रेज करने. अब इस ए लिमिटेड में गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया होल्डिंग इज 50%. गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया होल्डिंग इज 50%, एंड गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया इज ट्राइंग टू ड्रॉप इट्स शेयर होल्डिंग टू 40%. इफ दैट इज द केस, in that scenario, what can government do? So government has two options. First option is government can sell its 10% shareholding directly to the public. Government can sell 10% of its shareholding directly to the public, which will result in government of India's shareholding to drop down from 50 to 40%. तो इससे क्या होगा, गवर्नमेंट की जो शेयर होल्डिंग है वो ड्रॉप हो जाएगी फ्रॉम 50 to 40%. दिस इज नोन एज offer for sale. This is known as offer for sale. On the other side, what can be done with the company? So company can come up with a new format where company can issue new shares. Company can issue new shares, and company is planning to issue new 20 lakh shares. And if company is planning to issue these 20 lakh shares at the same face price of 10 rupees, at a same face value of 10 rupees, then in that particular case, what will happen? So in this particular case, public can purchase these shares, and the moment public purchase these shares, there will be a change in the capital. The overall change is capital value will increase from 100 crores to 120 crores. समझ आ रही है बातें? क्यों? क्योंकि यहां से आपने 20 करोड़ रुपए रेज किए. अब इससे क्या हुआ, जो टोटल नंबर ऑफ शेयर्स है दैट इज व्हाट, सर नाउ इट इज 1.2 crores. What is the share of government? सर गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की जो शेयर होल्डिंग है दैट इज 50%. 50% किसका? 100 करोड़ का. 50% of what? So 50% of 100 crores. In that particular case, government shareholding was 50 crores. Government was holding the shares value, share number that is 50 lakhs. आई होप आपको मेरी बातें समझ आ रही होंगी. अगर ऐसी सिनेरियो है तो गवर्नमेंट की जो कैपिटल है या जो इन्वेस्टमेंट है वो 50 करोड़ से कम होकर कितनी हुई? सर कुछ कम नहीं हुआ. गवर्नमेंट की आज भी 50 करोड़ ही है, बट ओवरऑल कैपिटल ऑफ द कंपनी इज नाउ 120 करोड़. अब उसकी वजह से गवर्नमेंट का जो शेयर होल्डिंग है इट हैज फॉलन डाउन, एंड इफ यू कैलकुलेट दिस इट विल कम बिलो 50%. समझ आई ये बात? तो गवर्नमेंट ने अपने शेयर्स नहीं बेचे. गवर्नमेंट हैज नॉट सोल्ड its own shares, but without selling its own shares, what government has done, government has sold new shares of the company, or new shares of the company have been issued, and these shares have been sold out in the market, which has resulted in increase in capital, which has resulted in diluting the government of India's shareholding. So these are the two steps which are generally taken by the promoter if they are planning to dilute their shareholding. If you need shares, if you need funds, then you can go for, if you need funds, then you can go for what? You can go for offer for sale. If you don't need funds, you means promoter. If promoter do not want to carry the funds back home, then it can go with FPO, follow on public offering, and even this selling can be done to the qualified institutional investors as well. So that can also be done. Is this clear? मजा आया? ये पॉइंट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, अब समझते हैं इसको. पहला पॉइंट क्या कहता है? सर वेदर यू विल गो फॉर ऑफर फॉर सेल और क्वालिफाइड इंस्टीट्यूशनल प्लेसमेंट और फॉलो ऑन पब्लिक ऑफरिंग, सिंगल वर्सेस मल्टीपल ट्रांचेस, ग्रीन शू ऑप्शंस. ठीक है, पहले 2-3 वर्ड्स तो आपको क्लियर हो गए. अब मैं मूव करूंगा अगले टर्म पे. अगला जो टर्म है दैट इज QIP. qualified institutional placement. So qualified institutional placement means primary issuance of the fresh shares to the qualified institutional buyers is basically known as qualified institutional placement. It is very easy because it gives quick fundraising to the company. Restricted to institutions only, no retail participation is allowed, and it will help you to dilute your equity and increase or to boost the company's worth. Then we have single versus multiple tranches. Single versus multiple tranches means, let's suppose in my example, we have decided that the company will be issuing 20 lakh shares. So whether you will be issuing all the shares in one go or you will be issuing the shares slowly, that is single tranche or multiple tranche. The last one is green shoe. Do you remember green shoe? Green shoe option is basically an option to sell an additional portion if demand is strong. अब हुआ क्या कि government has decided that we will be selling 20 lakh shares. यहाँ पर या government has decided to sell 10% of the shareholding. अब it depends that if the demand increases, then government is pre-ready that we will be issuing 5% extra. So when you take a quick decision, when you take a prior decision that if anything goes or if anything changes, if the demand is very high, I will be undoubtedly increasing my share offer, and that is known as green shoe option. That is basically known as green shoe option. समझ आई बात? Clear हो गया point? If there is any doubt, you may ask please. Next is valuation and investors education. So equity stories. What are these equity stories? Sir, Goldman will create equity stories that why should investor buy, where the Goldman will highlight company's strength. For example, public sector bank story may focus on the recovery in asset quality, credit growth and capital adequacy. आज की डेट में मैं कहूँ अगर मुझे कोई कहे कि public sector company का शेयर बेच दो, तो it's very easy for me because the public sector bank has shown an improvement in terms of its asset quality. First point. Second is its credit growth is increasing, and thirdly, and the most important point, is profitability. The banks, the public sector banks, they have recorded huge profits in the past financial year, because of which you as an investor must invest in the public sector banks to earn good dividend as well as good market hike or good market incentives in the near future. So that is a sales pitch which I can prepare for public sector banks. Same will be done, not by me, obviously, by the Goldman Sachs, which is going to do this. उसी के लिए उन्हें अपॉइंट किया गया. उसके साथ साथ peer companies, we will compare with the global and domestic peers कि उनका price to book value क्या है, what is the return on equity. So all these things will be compared, so that I will give you much more confidence that you should invest over here. It is going to be very helpful for you. Then educational road shows can be done so that investors can be informed that the company is issuing the shares, you must invest, that will be very profitable and whatnot. Then we have book building and execution. This is the third task which is going to be performed by GS. Timing windows. Pick favorable market conditions. You have to pick favorable market conditions, that when you should issue the shares in order to avoid clash with other large IPO, budget announcement, or maybe federal rate cut decision. You must avoid these clashes. Second is floor price technology or floor price methodology. Offer for sale requires setting a floor price, that is the minimum bid price. So advisor, in this case Goldman, will suggest the formula with the help of which government can decide the floor price which they will announce. And the last is anchor investor allocation. Institutional investors that can be roped as an anchor investors for price discovery and to build confidence, that will also be suggested by the same, that is Goldman. So Goldman's role is run the book building process, coordinate with the syndicate banks, monitor the order book and suggest allocation strategy. These are going to be done by none other than Goldman. The next is regulatory compliance. So SEBI's offer for sale, timelines, conditions, framework should be followed. Then stock exchange coordination is required. You need to coordinate with NSE, BSE for offer for sale. Then government approval is required from DIPM under the Ministry of Finance, or DFS, that is the Department of Financial Services, and once the approval is given, then only the shares can be issued. Then we have after market stabilization. After market stabilization means green shoe stabilization, over allotment option, which is generally used to support the price in the secondary market, or price monitoring. After the deal, you track the share performance, manage the investor expectations so that you can manage the market in an appropriate manner. So precisely saying, structuring the deal, identifying the investor, and smooth execution are the, we can say, functions performed by the advisor to a company who is coming up with issuing of the shares. In this case, Government of India, public sector banks, and Goldman is the three names which you need to remember. अब बात करते हैं न्यूज के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में. So share holding, Government of India hold approximately or around more than 90% shares in each of the banks. So hence low free float and index under representation. Stake sales को increase करना होगा to increase the liquidity. Public sector bank has broadly improved its profit and asset quality post COVID, which will obviously give you a boost. So these are the three terms which I have just explained you how government can sell. Government can sell through offer for sale, qualified institution placement, or government can go for FPOs, that is follow on public offering. अब इसका impact क्या होगा? What will be the impact of this particular issue? So the impact of this particular issue would be, first one, on Government of India, compliance with the 25% minimum public shareholding roadmap, disinvestment receipts without your maturity control. So government is selling the shares, government is trying to achieve the SEBI targets or SEBI guidelines without losing its majority shareholding. For public sector banks, it will result in higher liquidity, free float, potential governance signaling, and easier future access to equity, which will be done. And for investors like you and me, it will be a good opportunity to enter in the public sector banks, because these days they are doing really very well. If you will be investors, you will be earning the profits in the near future to go. ठीक है जी. उसके बाद ये कुछ points है which I have just explained you. I have given a quick recap of the same, so you can just read it once. तो मुझे लगता है कहानी पूरी समझ आई होगी. कहानी बड़ी सिंपल है कि गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने डिसाइड किया कि जो 4 पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स हैं जिनमें हमारी शेयर होल्डिंग लगभग 90% के आसपास है, 90% से ज़्यादा ही है, उनमें गवर्नमेंट को अपनी शेयर होल्डिंग कम करनी होगी, एंड गवर्नमेंट शुड ऑफर 25% पब्लिक शेयर होल्डिंग as per SEBI rule. और उसके लिए SEBI has given a timeline or deadline of 1st of April 2026. In order to achieve this, government has decided कि क्यों ना approximately 5% शेयर हर एक बैंक में सेल किए जाए. अब डिसीजन ये लेना है कि कैसे सेल करें, ऑफर फॉर सेल करें, और वी गो विद FPOs, और वी गो विद क्वालिफाइड इंस्टीट्यूशनल प्लेसमेंट. सो ऑल दीज डिसीजन, प्राइस क्या होगा, कब इशू करने होंगे, ऑल दीज डिसीजन विल बी टेकन बाय एन, I would say, expert authority, and that expert authority which has been appointed by Government of India for this case is Goldman. क्लियर हो गया जी? समझ आ गई बात? नए पॉइंट समझ आए? अगली बार FPO और OFS में क्या डिफरेंस है, क्या करना चाहिए, क्या नहीं करना चाहिए, what is required depending upon the situation, I'm pretty sure you will be in a position to answer these kind of questions in the examination. If it is clear, give me a big yes in the comment section. So Government of India hold over 90% in Indian Overseas Bank, Central Bank of India, UCO Bank, and Punjab and Sindh Bank, and plans to dilute up to 5% in tranches in each bank. That is true. The trigger for this move is SEBI's minimum public shareholding norm of 25%, which all listed companies, including public sector banks, should meet by 1st of August 2026. That is also true. Offer for sale is likely preferred route as it enables primary capital infusion into the bank and simultaneously reduces the government stake. सर ये जो डेफिनेशन है ना, डेफिनेशन में तो गड़बड़ नहीं है, डेफिनेशन इज फाइन, देयर इज नो हार्म इन द डेफिनेशन, बट जो गड़बड़ है वो नाम में गड़बड़ है. नाम यहाँ पर ऑफर फॉर सेल नहीं होना चाहिए, नाम यहाँ पर होना चाहिए था फॉलो ऑन पब्लिक ऑफरिंग. अगर यहाँ पर नाम फॉलो ऑन पब्लिक ऑफरिंग होता, दैट वुड हैव बीन एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट, बट इफ इट इज नॉट फॉलो ऑन ऑफरिंग, देन इन दैट पर्टिकुलर सिनेरियो दिस स्टेटमेंट विल बी रॉन्ग. ठीक है जी, क्लियर हो गया पॉइंट. माइनॉरिटी स्टेक is a form of privatization. No. Sir, if you are selling the shares and you are still maintaining your majority shareholding as a government, that is not privatization. Stake sales increase फ्री फ्लोट इन द मार्केट। हाँ, अगर आप शेयर्स को बेचोगे, मार्केट में शेयर्स का काउंट इंक्रीज होगा तो उनका फ्लोट इंक्रीज होगा, लिक्विडिटी इंक्रीज होगी, प्राइस डिस्कवरी इजी होगा, पोटेंशियल इंडेक्स वेट्स होंगे। दैट इज ट्रू। सो आंसर फॉर दिस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन इज 1, 2 and 5 आर द करेक्ट आंसर्स। गॉट इट गाइस? मजा आया? अरे भाई बताओ जरा, आप लोग आजकल मेरे रिप्लाई नहीं कर रहे हो। मजा आया या नहीं? कुछ समझ आया? ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट था, आपको लग रहा होगा कि एम ही है, लेकिन जब ऐसे क्वेश्चंस एग्जामिनेशन में, स्पेशली इंटरव्यू में पूछे जाते हैं, देन मोस्ट ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स दे आर नॉट एबल टू आंसर। आई कैन बेट ऑन दिस, मोस्ट ऑफ द एक्सपर्ट्स फाइनेंस के, उनको भी नहीं पता होगा ये पॉइंट, मोस्ट ऑफ देम, बट आई होप नाउ you are aware of it. So congratulations everyone. Moving on to the next question. The next question on the same is from the terms which I have just explained you. So the terms which I have just explained you is, first one, offer for sale. A promoter sells the shares via stock exchange window over 2 days. Day 1 non-retail and day 2 retail. Proceeds go to the promoter, not to the bank. अगर आप ऑफर फॉर सेल करते हो तो उस केस में पैसा कंपनी को जाएगा या प्रमोटर को? सर प्रमोटर को जाएगा, क्योंकि वो अपने शेयर्स बेच रहा है। दैट इज ट्रू। QIP involves issue of new shares by the banks to QIB. That is true. Green shoe options allow selling additional shares to stabilize the supply or demand. That is also true. Anchor investors, large cornerstone QIBs who take allocation ahead of the main book, used mainly in QIP and FPOs. ये जरूरी नहीं है. This is not very uncertain, but if you write over here IPO, then also it is fine, but OFS के केस में इसका कोई रोल नहीं है. That is true. Right issue, faster and simpler than OFS for meeting MPS is usually preferred. Government of India route नहीं, Government of India route में right issue में government नहीं जाती. Government do not give certain right कि this is the right, you are the employee, then you can only buy the shares. That is not the case, and obviously it's not faster, it's pretty slow. Why it is slow? क्योंकि यहाँ पर आपकी जो target audience है वही कम हो गई. So answer is going to be A option, 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth option is wrong. Moving on to the next news. Pretty easy news, pretty light news. What it says? It says that New Development Bank. I hope we all know that New Development Bank. We all know about BRICS. Who is the chairman of, or who is the president of New Development Bank? Give me the answer in the comment section. By the time I'll discuss the news. New Development Bank, which is a multilateral development bank set up by BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, has appointed Dr. Rajiv Ranjan as its vice chairman and, most importantly, chief risk officer for the tenure of 5 years. Now you must be wondering, सर ये क्या बात हो गई? राजीव रंजन जी तो आजकल बहुत न्यूज में है. क्यों न्यूज में है? बिकॉज ही वॉज इन न्यूज फ्यू डेज बैक व्हेन वी डिस्कस्ड, आई डोंट नो वेदर I discussed this news on YouTube or not, but yes, that was a news where I talked about that Rajiv Ranjan is replaced by I. Bhattacharya as the member of Monetary Policy Committee. So he's an executive director. He's also an executive director, but now Rajiv Ranjan in the Monetary Policy Committee has been replaced by I. Bhattacharya. We all know that in Monetary Policy Committee we have 6 members, जिसमें से 3 RBI मेंबर RBI ऑफिशियल्स हैं और बाकी के 3 जो है दे आर गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया अपॉइंटेड एमिनेंट इकोनॉमिस्ट. इन 3 में एक RBI गवर्नर, एक RBI डिप्टी गवर्नर हु इज द चेयरमैन ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी, और थर्ड इज एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर जो कि पहले राजीव रंजन थे. नाउ ही हैज बीन रिप्लेस्ड बाय आई. भट्टाचार्य. और राजीव रंजन जी को बनाया गया हेड किसका? DEPR का. ही हैज बीन गिवन द हेडशिप ऑफ द Department of RBI, that is DEPR, which stands for Department of Economic and Policy Research. As per the news, he is going to retire in September 2025 from RBI. I'm not saying he is resigning. He is going to retire. He will complete his tenure with RBI, or he will complete his service with RBI. He has joined RBI, if I'm not wrong, in 1989, and he will be completing his tenure in September 2025. Then it's quite obvious after his retirement, he will be taking up the position as a vice president of New Development Bank. If I talk about his past, he joined RBI in 1989. He has served as executive director of RBI, member of Monetary Policy Committee, and right now he is heading the Department of Economic and Policy Research. Now, if we talk something about NDB, few things which are very important. It was established back in 2014. It's a multilateral development bank. India is the Founding member, its headquarters is in Shanghai, China. Financing sustainable infrastructure and development projects in BRICS and emerging economies. So what is the agenda? NDB is basically the investor or finance the sustainable infrastructure and development projects in BRICS nation as well as emerging economy. India, as I already told, it's one of the founding members. What is the significance of this appointment? Risk management role is the most important role in financial institute. Not only if it is a international financial institute like NDB, it is important even if it's a domestic institution, because as a credit management officer, or I would say as a credit manager, or in this case, if we talk about Rajiv Ranjan, he will be chief risk officer. So he will be overseeing the credit risk, operational risk, as well as the market risk framework in the NDB platform, which is a very crucial job to perform. Indian leadership representation, then in that particular case, it will strengthen India's voice in NDB, especially as India pushes for more financing in sustainable projects, energy transmission or energy transition and infrastructure. तो कहते हैं ना, अपना बंदा बैठा, तो इंडिया को अब अप्लाई करना लोन के लिए इजी हो जाएगा. वी कैन इजीली अप्लाई, क्योंकि उम्मीद है कि हमें अप्रूवल मिलेगा, क्योंकि हमारा खुद का आदमी वहां पर क्या कर रहा है, एज अ चीफ रिस्क ऑफिसर काम कर रहा है. दैट इज रॉन्ग. ऐसा नहीं है. The approval will be given on the basis of the documentations only. If the project is feasible, risk acceptable, then only the approval will be given. But still, our reach will increase, our presentation on the board will increase. His background in monetary policy, macroeconomics, and global financial institution is going to contribute a lot with the NDB as well. Here I have a question for you. The question is, consider the following statement about Dr. Rajiv Ranjan, recently appointed as Vice President and Chief Risk Officer of New Development Bank. Check out the questions, give me the answers. Yes, I named the same I. Bhattacharya. He has replaced Rajiv Ranjan ji. That is true. Now my question was, after this question, those who have read the question and given me the answer, you can type the answer for the name of chairman of NDB. Who is the chairman of NDB? So the president of NDB is D. Rossif. That is absolutely correct. जिन्होंने आंसर दिया कमेंट सेक्शन में, that is correct. So he has been appointed for a 5 years term starting from September 2025. That is true. 5 years term is true. He early served as the Monetary Policy Committee member. True. He worked as an economic policy expert at the Central Bank of Oman from 2012 to 2015. Is this point correct? Is this point correct, guys? Give me the answer. Okay, for your reference, guys, the point we use that he has worked as the economic policy expert at the Central Bank of Oman. That is absolutely correct, from 2012 to 2015. ठीक है जी, clear हो गया ये point? I guess it's clear, it's correct. Next is, he joined the RBI in 2005. No, he represents India in the international forum. Yes, he has represented India on many forums. So A option is absolutely correct. Chalo, moving on to the next news. Ugly news bhi काफी important है. Again, it is coming from the house of SEBI. Again, it is related to the financial market. Again, this is going to help you a lot in order to understand the major concepts related to the same. So what is this news all about? SEBI has recently approved reclassification of LIC as public shareholder in IDBI Bank. So what is it? Guys, we all know that if I talk about IDBI, Industrial Development Bank of India, शुरू से शुरू करते हैं. IDBI was set up back in 1964 and it was set up as an Industrial Development Bank of India. Later on, initially it was owned by RBI and then its ownership was transferred to Government of India. Then IDBI was allowed to operate not only as a development bank, it was allowed to operate as a commercial bank, and then finally it was converted completely as a commercial bank after setting up of SIDBI, that is Small Industrial Development Bank of India, which was solely looking after the development of the industrial sector. ठीक, अब हुआ क्या कि 2018 में IDBI के जो शेयर्स हैं वो काफ़ी नीचे थे, बिकॉज IDBI was in a stress due to high NPAs, and due to that low share price, majority investors have not invested in IDBI, but LIC took the bet and LIC invested in IDBI. अब जैसे ही LIC ने इन्वेस्ट किया in IDBI and LIC was holding majority shareholding in LIC, then in that particular case majority shareholding in IDBI was holded by LIC. That resulted that IDBI was termed as private sector bank, or it was termed as private sector commercial bank. अब हुआ क्या कि IDBI ने फिर से एक अपडेट दी है which is regarding the same. That update we are going to discuss today. ठीक है, स्टोरी समझ आई? तो by 2018 IDBI was in deep stress due to NPA. To rescue, LIC bought around 51 stake, becoming the majority shareholder and technically the promoter of the bank. This was unusual because LIC, primarily an insurer, became the promoter of a bank, raising a conflict of interest, because banks and insurance companies, I will not say that they perform the same functions, but they are responsible for managing the same funds of the public. Over 2018 to 2021, LIC's role was basically to stabilize IDBI. So bank exited RBI's prompt corrective action framework in 2021. So this was very important, that IDBI was not doing well. It was even included under the category of PCA, but due to the LIC stabilization role, IDBI was finally taken out of the tag of prompt corrective action. फिर आई disinvestment का push. अब आया disinvestment का push. Government policy, privatize certain public sector banks to strengthen the banking efficiency. ये push आया था budget 2021 में. IDBI was chosen as the first test case of strategic disinvestment in the banking sector. तो जैसे ये आया point, तो यहाँ पे decide किया गया कि ठीक है सर, ऐसा ही करते हैं, IDBI को या IDBI की शेयर होल्डिंग जो गवर्नमेंट की उसे कम करते हैं और उसे स्ट्रैटेजिक डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं. स्ट्रैटेजिक डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट का मतलब वेयर गवर्नमेंट इज नॉट ओनली सेलिंग इट्स मेजॉरिटी शेयर होल्डिंग, गवर्नमेंट इज ऑल्सो transferring the management into the hands of the private investors. So Government of India stake was 45.48, LIC is 49.24, together its shareholding is around 94%. So they are targeting jointly sell around 60.7% stake to a strategic buyer. Strategic buyer, the one who will be taking up the management, and thus the management transfer will be done, thus the managemental control will be transferred. तो सेबी ने 2025 में सेबी ने अप्रूव किया LIC की रिक्वेस्ट को और कहा, LIC ने कहा था कि आई एम रिक्वेस्टिंग यू टू reclassify me from promoter shareholder to a public shareholder in IDBI because I have announced selling out my shares to the public. Why it is important? Sir, the important is under the SEBI rule, a promoter has significant rights and responsibilities like controlling board, say, disclosure and whatnot. For privatization, LIC cannot remain the promoter because we are looking forward for a strategic buyer, and if we are looking for a strategic buyer, we want someone who is going to hold the management, and if we want someone who is going to hold the management, so we cannot give the same title to LIC that you and along with the new party you collectively manage the company. That is not possible, that is not feasible rather. So conditions which were imposed by SEBI said that the voting rights of LIC will be capped at 10%. LIC must have no board representation in IDBI. LIC should have no direct or indirect control over management. LIC must cut its stake in IDBI to 15% or less within 2 years. Automatic reversal if LIC violates any condition. Reclassification will be cancelled and LIC will again be termed as the promoter of IDBI. Point समझ आया कि सर IDBI में मेजॉरिटी शेयर्स किसने खरीदे? LIC ने. अब गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर डिमांड आ गई कि भैया डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट करना होगा। अब जब डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट करने की बारी आई तो सबसे पहले सोचा गया क्यों ना आईडीबीआई के साथ एक्सपेरिमेंट किया जाए फॉर द स्ट्रेटेजिक डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट ऑफ द बैंक्स। अब इस एक्सपेरिमेंट में प्रॉब्लम क्या आ रही थी कि एलआईसी हु इज नॉट गवर्नमेंट डायरेक्टली, एलआईसी का मतलब ये नहीं है ना मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फाइनेंस, LIC is a government owned company, that is a different call, but LIC is a all the go different entity. It's a independent entity. If it is an independent entity and it is holding the majority shares, it is the promoter of a company, then if you want to transfer the management, if you want the new players to come in and hold the management, that won't be possible until and unless LIC remains until and unless LIC hold the same tagline, LIC hold the same status. So therefore LIC applied, SEBI को कहा SEBI please classify me as public shareholder. And what will be the difference? Difference is if you are a public shareholder, you will get limited voting rights, you will get restriction on percentage of shareholding, you will get restriction in terms of your involvement into the day-to-day operations of the company. And LIC is ready to do that. So LIC said, I'm ready with voting rights of 10%. I'm ready that I will have no representation on the board. LIC said, I will not be directly or indirectly controlling the management. I'll reduce my stake to 15%. If I'll not do that, you can reverse the entire thought. So these strict safeguards to ensure that LIC will not be an active promoter of the company. It will barely a financial investor of the company, not a promoter. So this initiative has been taken और LIC ने अगर अप्रूव कर लिया, LIC ने बोल दिया कि I will be following all your conditions, then obviously LIC will be termed as, LIC shareholding will be termed as public shareholding rather than promoters shareholding. So government and LIC, they are planning 60.7% stake disinvestment through a strategic sale, that is strategic disinvestment. This will transfer the management control to the private buyer. So this is one of the largest private bank exercise in Indian history. So this is for the first time कितना बड़ा privatization हो रहा है, इतना बड़े level पे a government owned bank is going to be privatized by the government. Story समझ आई, कहानी क्लियर हुई? मैंने बैकग्राउंड से स्टोरी सुनाई आपको, क्या हुआ था, कैसे हुआ था, LIC ने क्या किया, प्रॉब्लम क्या आ गई, क्यों वो प्रॉब्लम आई, उसका सॉल्यूशन क्या है, सॉल्यूशन मांगने किसके पास गए, सेबी के पास, सेबी ने क्या कंडीशंस लगाई, ये कंडीशंस, अगर ये कंडीशंस फुलफिल करोगे तभी मैं आपकी बात मानूंगी, वरना नहीं मानूंगी। आई होप ऑल द पॉइंट्स आर क्लियर। अगर सारी बातें, सारी राम कथा क्लियर है तो जस्ट गिव मी यस। मजा आया हो तो गिव मी अ थम्स अप or give me a love sign, whatever you want. Quickly guys. क्लियर हो गया जी? मजा आया? मजा आया? चलो क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करें। Here is the first question. So the question on the same, with reference to SEBI's approval, LIC reclassification and IDBI, consider the following statements. Pehli, LIC has been reclassified from promoter shareholder to public shareholder. True. LIC voting rights are capped at 10%. True. LIC will reduce its stakes up to 15% within 2 years. True. LIC will remain the right to nominate, no, LIC का कोई भी representative नहीं होगा on the board, that has been clearly mentioned. If LIC violates SEBI conditions, then the reclassification will automatically cancel. That is true. That is true. So answer is going to be 1, 2, 3, 5. A option is the correct answer. I hope each and every point which we have discussed are crystal clear. मजा आया, समझ आया? चलो बढ़िया. If you all are ready and you want me to showcase the homework questions and you will be taking up the screenshots, just give me yes sir. तो जल्दी से मैं आपको 3 क्वेश्चंस है मेरे पास जो आज मैं आपको होमवर्क के फॉर्म में दूंगा, एंड आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग कि आप उन तीनों क्वेश्चंस के आंसर मेरे साथ शेयर करोगे इन दी कमेंट सेक्शन इटसेल्फ। प्लीज 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 आई रिक्वेस्ट यू, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा कमेंट सेक्शन में अपने आंसर्स को शेयर करो, अपनी फीडबैक, अपने सजेशंस को शेयर करो। मैं जानता हूँ RBI का नोटिफिकेशन डिले हो चुका है तो मोस्ट ऑफ यू हैव स्टॉप्ड योर करंट अफेयर प्रिपरेशन। सबको यही लग रहा है कि नोटिफिकेशन आएगा तब करंट अफेयर्स पढ़ लेंगे, क्या प्रॉब्लम है, बट ऐसा नहीं होगा। जब नोटिफिकेशन आएगा हाथ पैर ठंडे हो जाएंगे, समझ नहीं आएगा करो क्या, देयर विल बी अ पैनिक सिचुएशन, एंड उस पैनिक सिचुएशन में अगर करंट अफेयर्स में लैग हुआ, अगर करंट अफेयर्स पेंडिंग हुए, ट्रस्ट मी दैट इज गोइंग टू बी द बिगेस्ट हिट, दैट इज गोइंग टू बी द बिगेस्ट स्ट्रोक टू योर प्रिपरेशन, जिसमें कहीं ना कहीं आपकी प्रिपरेशन, आपका कॉन्फिडेंस, आपका डेडिकेशन, डिटर्मिनेशन सब इम्पैक्ट होगा once the notification is out. So don't lose it. Stay tuned, be regular if you want to clear your examination. You have 10 seconds to take the screenshot. I hope done. Next. Done. Next. Okay, so thanks for watching, guys. I will be catching you all in the upcoming sessions to go. Hope to see your comments in the comment section. Bye bye. Take care. Good luck. God bless you all.